In the world of Westeros, power is often defined by legacy. Bloodlines determine destiny. Houses rise and fall based not only on armies or alliances, but on the invisible traits passed from parent to child. And no bloodline in Westerosi history is more infamous than that of House Targaryen. For nearly 3 centuries they ruled the 7 kingdoms. They conquered with dragons, reshaped the political landscape of an entire continent, and forged a dynasty that seemed almost divine in its authority. But alongside their greatness, another pattern emerged. A pattern whispered about in halls of the Red Keep, recorded quietly by maesters, feared even by those who bore the name. Madness. There is a saying in Westeros, every time a Targaryen is born, the gods toss a coin. On one side, greatness. But what if this coin was never random? What if the instability associated with House Targaryen was not simply the result of incest or bad fortune, but the byproduct of something far more fundamental? What if Targaryen madness was, at one time, necessary? Today, we explore the biological and psychological foundations of the Targaryen legacy, and whether the very traits that made them dangerous rulers were also the traits that made them dragonlords. And if you enjoy these deep investigations into the hidden mechanics of Westeros, consider subscribing. Every record uncovered brings us closer to understanding the world behind the legend. To understand the Targaryen mind, we must begin not in King's Landing, but in Valyria. Old Valyria was not merely a civilization. It was an empire built on dragons. Its ruling families were not just monarchs, they were bonded to creatures of fire and instinct. The dragonlords did not simply ride dragons. They commanded them, controlled them, merged their will with them. This bond remains one of the great mysteries of the world. Dragons are intelligent, territorial, deeply emotional creatures. They are not livestock. They are apex predators. And yet, certain individuals could form connections with them that transcended fear. This suggests something unusual. Dragon riding may not have been a simple skill learned through training. It may have required neurological compatibility. If dragons possess heightened emotional sensitivity and volatile instinctual drives, then riders capable of bonding with them might require similar psychological intensity, emotional extremity, heightened perception, an ability to operate at the edge of impulse and control. In modern biological terms, traits often labeled as instability, impulsivity, obsessive focus, emotional volatility, can correlate with heightened sensitivity and adaptive responsiveness under extreme conditions. In Valyria, those traits may have been advantageous. A calm, rigid, emotionally muted individual might struggle to command a creature that breathes fire and responds to passion and dominance. But an individual whose mind operates in extremes, who feels deeply, reacts intensely, and perceives threats quickly, may be better suited to synchronize with such a creature. In that context, what Westeros calls madness may once have been an adaptive trait. Over generations, the Targaryens practiced close-kin marriage to preserve what they called the blood of the dragon. Traditionally, incest increases the likelihood of genetic abnormalities, but it also preserves specific traits with unusual consistency. If the Valyrian dragonlord bloodline contained neurological predispositions favorable to dragon bonding, then maintaining those traits would become culturally essential. The goal was not simply purity, it was compatibility. The result, however, would be genetic narrowing. And genetic narrowing carries risk. Without the stabilizing diversity of broader bloodlines, traits that once served a purpose could intensify beyond balance. We begin to see this instability manifest clearly after the dragons begin to disappear. Consider Maegor the Cruel. His reign was marked by brutality, paranoia, and unrestrained violence. Consider Baelor the Blessed, whose religious extremism rendered him politically ineffective. Consider Aerys II, whose paranoia and obsession with fire ultimately destroyed his own dynasty. These figures are often described simply as mad, but their behavior reveals patterns of extreme cognition, hyperfixation, delusional intensity, emotional amplification. In a world still ruled by dragons, such intensity might be channeled outward, toward conquest, toward synchronization, toward dominance in battle. But in a world without dragons, that same intensity has no external anchor. And this may be the crucial turning point. When dragons roamed the skies, Targaryen instability had purpose. It was contained within a system that rewarded emotional extremity and dominance. But as dragons dwindled and finally vanished, the adaptive trait became maladaptive. The Targaryens retained the fire, but lost the creature that gave it direction. Aerys II serves as the clearest example of this breakdown. His fascination with wildfire, his obsession with burning enemies, his erratic emotional shifts. These may not represent entirely new traits, but amplified remnants of a neurological legacy once designed for dragonfire. Without dragons, the Targaryen mind turned inward. Instability that once bonded rider and beast now fractured ruler and realm. This suggests that the famous coin toss was not divine randomness, but genetic variability under narrowing conditions. Some Targaryens inherited a more balanced expression of their lineage. Others inherited extremes without the stabilizing structure of dragon companionship. And yet, not all Targaryens were mad. Aegon the Conqueror demonstrated strategic clarity. Jaehaerys the Conciliator ruled with wisdom and restraint. Rhaegar Targaryen displayed introspection and obsession not with violence, but with prophecy. What distinguishes these figures is not the absence of intensity, but the direction of it. Rhaegar's fixation on prophecy. Aerys' fixation on fire. Baelor's fixation on faith. These are not random insanities, they are focused obsessions. In psychological terms, obsession and instability often sit along a spectrum. When channeled effectively, they produce visionaries. When unrestrained, they produce tyrants. This duality lies at the heart of the Targaryen paradox. The same neurological wiring that allowed a dragonlord to feel the rhythm of wings beneath him may also allow a king to spiral into paranoia. The same emotional intensity that inspires conquest may also fuel delusion. In evolutionary biology, this is known as a trade-off. A trait that increases fitness in one environment may reduce fitness in another. Dragon bonding intensity increases survival in a world of dragon warfare. But in a world of diplomacy, subtle politics, and fragile alliances, that same intensity becomes dangerous. By the time of Aerys II, dragons were long extinct. But the bloodline remained. And blood remembers. The Targaryens may not have needed madness to rule Westeros. But they may have needed intensity, neurological divergence, to rule dragons. Once the dragons were gone, the adaptation remained without its original function. And what remains of fire without purpose? Chaos. So was Targaryen madness necessary? Perhaps not in the moral sense. But biologically, historically, evolutionarily, it may have been an unavoidable cost of dragonlord dominance. The Targaryens did not simply carry power in their name. They carried a mind shaped by creatures of flame. And when the flames faded from the sky, the fire remained within. Untethered. Unstable. Burning. If you enjoyed this investigation into the hidden biology of House Targaryen, let me know what mystery we should uncover next. Until the next record is opened, stay curious.